Hey, Andre. The gang.
What's good, YouTube? It's your favorite YouTuber here, Jared, and today, wait, before we start, how you guys been? I love asking how you guys been. But you guys never asked how my day was going. Nah. Anyways, my birthday is coming up. Yes, I am a Pisces, and yeah, I'm looking kind of good. I'm not gonna lie.
What the f?
But I don't really know what I'm gonna do for my birthday. I'm just happy that I'm here. But enough of me. All I want to do is make your days better. And you already know how. Nah, shit. I just really feel like I'm in a learning type of mood today. And you guys know the best teacher ever. Like, y'all know who that is. Like, don't act up. Casual Geographic. The best animal teacher on TikTok. Like, what? Shout out to him. He's one of like the best TikTokers ever, in my opinion. He went from TikTok to YouTube, and he just does great on both. You guys go show him some love. Before we get into today's video, make sure you guys subscribe. It really helps my channel go far, and I'll really appreciate it. Alright, let's learn some funny or scary or weird facts about animals today. This video is called When Nature Gets a Little Too Creative. I don't know what to expect, but let's just get into the video.
It's not that bad, I can explain. That is a baby estrelid finch, and yeah, that's what they're supposed to look like. This is what they look like all grown up. Those markings help the parents decide which chicks to feed and which chicks to let die. And that's because some birds will lay their egg in the nest of another and let the other bird raise their baby. Matter of fact, you know the first 4 letters of the word cuckoo? This is where that term comes from.
Cuckoo? So
those specific markings help the mother avoid feeding a chick that isn't actually hers. And oftentimes, it's a chick with the brightest markings that gets the most food and attention from the parents. It's not racism, but it's in the area code. Once the chicks become old enough to feed themselves, the birthmarks start to fade away. Only problem is some brood parasite chicks have evolved to have similar markings to the others, which tricks the parents into feeding them as well, which usually screws the other demigorgons in the nest in the process. Because sometimes evolution means you just get cuckooed, but you know, with the O silent. Moral of this video, work smarter, not harder. Here's a quick vision test. You have 3 seconds to find it, starting now.
What am I looking at? Snakes?
Alright, time's up. If you counted 3 snakes, you're wrong, because those aren't snakes, that's actually a moth. Specifically, it's an atlas moth. And at almost 10 inches long, they're one of the largest ones out there. They're one of those animals nature told to f*** off, because in their adult form, they can't eat because they don't have a mouth. Once they're fresh out the cocoon, they only live off whatever fat they already stored. Their only purpose in life is to make more of themselves and nothing more. Which is why nature's Xerox will just sit in one spot and wait for a male to come along and do his part, just so the female can lay her eggs and die. These moths have at best 2 weeks before their expiration date, and since flying around and wasting energy only speed runs them through life, they just find a nice spot and sit there and move as little as possible. So to protect themselves and eventually the eggs they lay, they use their wings to cosplay as snakes to scare off anything that could be a threat. By the time their life trial ends, their eggs are ready to hatch and continue the generational jihad that is their existence. If God has favorites, this moth ain't one of them.
Don't scroll, I can explain.
It's not what it looks like, but it might be worse. It's actually a marine bristleworm called a polychaete. This deep-sea worm was pulled from the bottom of the ocean by a fisherman who swore this demonic garden hose was smiling. The worm then proceeded to turn its face inside out. And that's because what looks like its head is actually a retractable pharynx. By the way, that's where yours is. These worms will regurgitate their own pharynx and then push them out their mouths to grab food and then suck it and whatever it caught right back in. Also, bristleworms are scavengers, meaning they eat all the things you would normally flush down a toilet. Now this is the part where I tell you they're not as bad as they look and they're completely harmless to humans. They bite when they feel threatened, and the bristles can penetrate your skin like cactus spines. Since the spines can be difficult to remove by hand, it can lead to an infection if you don't get them out. Also, they can grow to 2-3 feet long and sometimes more. All that while looking like an uncircumcised paralysis demon. Have you ever heard of the headless chicken monster? Because if you haven't, I can guarantee it's not what you think. This is a Nymphaeastes, and it's actually a type of deep-sea cucumber. And when I say deep, I mean you'd have to dive up to 16,000 feet just to see this aquatic prolapsed anus in its natural. But if you ever dive that deep, the V would become silent because the water pressure would evict your lungs out of your mouth and turn your skeleton into paper mache. But the headless chicken has no bones and therefore no worries. They range in size from about 4 to 10 inches. How long it actually is depends on whether it's a man or woman measuring. If it's a guy with the ruler, it might magically gain an extra 2 inches. They're able to use those wings to swim above the ocean floor, which they do to avoid predators. Also, a lot of them are bioluminescent and they'll light up if you touch them. If you harass them too many times, their entire body lights up. And the reason is, even though it exposes itself to the entire ocean, it also reveals the position of the predator attacking it to a possibly bigger predator. Basically, if it goes down, it's taking you with it. Which is pretty creative, considering most cucumbers just eat their organs out their anus and use the emotional damage as a security blanket. The more you know.
I do not care. The blobfish is ugly
Did you have to show
in
that?
any form.
So let me see if I got this right. You and me, we do a collab together. Make a nice little video, you know, for the people. And then you turn around and slander my child?
Your
Bet.
child.
This thing looks like an anxiety attack. Looks like ADHD on DMT. It's an identity crisis come to life. That is the look of an animal
What
tragically
is
unaware of
that?
its
Oh, I
purpose in
think-
the world. Can someone please explain to me how a fish that lives underwater still manages to find a way to have chapped lips? And for an animal with no hair follicles, why do I still get the feeling he has a receding hairline? Should have receded back in the
What
Satan's
the
wet dream
heck?
where it came from. It looks like the after picture in an anti-drug commercial. Also, it's a fish without scales.
this
That's
a
how I know
roast
it's a rough
session?
draft come to life. It looks like what happens when the post and draft buttons are way too close to each other. The telescope fish can swallow animals bigger than itself thanks to its stomach, but I still can't stomach the fact that this is an actual living entity. I'm only roasting this fish because it lives nearly 10,000 feet, like 30 Statues of Liberty, underwater in the armpit of the ocean. Me flaming it's the only warmth this LSD guppy's ever gonna get. Also, the way they reproduce is by non-guarding pelagic spawning, meaning they just spunk it up in the ocean and hope it hits the right thing, like a degenerate. Also, blobfish only look like that when you kidnap them from their home. This thing looks like Nemo's paralysis demon 24/7.
They probably do.
I didn't want to
seen
do
them
any of this,
underwater.
but you clearly did. This animal's proof that nice guys don't always finish last. This is a gelada baboon. It's the world's most intimidating vegan, and they can roll in groups of
Baboon.
up to 600. That is a gelada baboons. And usually it's the biggest,
Gelada.
meanest monkey that earns the right to mate with all the females in the
Oh my
area.
God, look
But
at them
researchers found
gums.
that oftentimes females will slip away and hook up with the less aggressive, lower-ranking beta males. Now, if they get caught, it gets ugly for
Hey,
everyone
W, that's a
involved.
W.
So to avoid getting found out, the geladas will suppress the mating noises they usually make to avoid drawing attention to themselves. Since these geladas will typically make these loud cries
Smart.
in the act, you know it's the quiet couples that be doing something they ain't supposed to be doing. I don't think that just applies to monkeys, but that's besides the point. The beta male will only fix the female's plumbing when he's at least 70 feet away from the dominant male. Researchers also found that cheating couples that were caught and confronted ended up doing it again but being more secretive about it. And it turns out females are starting to lose interest in the hyper-aggressive alpha macho males and paying more attention to the nicer, respectful beta males. Again, we could easily not be talking
Like
about
you
monkeys
should.
here. And apparently these nicer males will do things like groom her and even babysit the children of other monkeys just to earn her approval. Moral of this video,
W monkeys.
can't call it simping if it works. This panda finessed everybody by pretending to be
You're right.
pregnant, and here's how. Pandas are horrendously bad at being themselves. So when a panda gets pregnant, the zoo will do everything in its power to make sure the little panda fetus lives long enough to actually be born. So when a panda at the Chengdu research base is expecting, she gets her own air-conditioned room, 24/7 care, and extra fruits, bamboo, and buns. And when a 6-year-old female was
Okay.
expected to add
They're
another
living in
panda
a
to the
hotel.
population, they did a live broadcast just so people could watch. Because I guess some people are into that. Except it never happened. She was never pregnant. Even though for 2 months she had all the signs of being pregnant, including eating more and moving around less. Some experts believe these barcode bears will purposely
Just
continue these pregnancy
fat.
behaviors if they notice it gets some special attention. And with her quality of life improving, she wasn't about to give that up. In her defense, there is a reason for this. Pandas have one of the shortest windows to get pregnant. I think it's something like 72 hours out of the whole year. Like out of 365 days, pandas only have one long weekend to get it done. Since pandas have such a small
Right.
opportunity to have kids, they'll prepare for a baby just in case. Which doesn't really cost them much because again, preparing just means eating more and doing less. So what people think happened is
I
that
wanna
hormones
see a
made the
panda
sheep
in
panda
real life.
instinctively get ready for a baby that wasn't there. But when she realized the world was better to her when she did, she just kept it up. Can't say I blame her, I've seen people lie worse to get less.
This is why you don't fly drones in Australia.
Why? Oh,
One of the biggest threats to an Australian way of life is the wedge-tailed eagle. They're the largest birds of prey down under and can have a wingspan of 7.5 feet, which makes this bird a Yao Ming long. One of these steroid tweenies allegedly had a wingspan of over 9 feet, and I'm only saying allegedly for my own mental health. They're insanely
a fox?
territorial and will attack virtually
I
anything
don't
with a
know.
pulse.
Fox.
That includes this
Let's
man's
check it out.
$80,000 drone that got Falcon punched out of the sky. That's an NYU tuition's worth of
Falcon
drone that got put
punch.
in a pack. These birds have been known to run fades with sheep, kangaroos, dingoes, 18-wheelers, children. If there wasn't a picture, nobody'd ever believe it. And if you ever go paragliding in Australia, just know you're playing Russian roulette with a shack-sized Jurassic reject. Moral of this video, Australia is
going
just
to
Satan's
Australia.
jungle gym. If I gave you 100 guesses, you
Exactly.
still probably wouldn't guess the animal that cost this man his leg.
What?
So the story goes, in 2014, a wild animal was terrorizing a local village and charging at anyone that got too close. While trying to capture it, officials chased the panicking animal onto the property of this man, Juan Guanchi. The animal immediately attacked him,
Guanchi.
brutally mauling him, and at one point crushed his right leg in its jaws. Guan described the mauling as easily the most painful thing he had ever experienced in his life. Villagers were able to get the beast off him, and the man was rushed to the hospital where he underwent 7 hours of surgery to save his leg, which looked like it was hanging on by a thread. Even after 8 surgeries and months in the hospital, Juan was told that there was a chance his leg would still have to be amputated. All that because he picked the wrong day to be near a panda. Yeah, a panda did this. Side note, I feel like y'all forget that panda bears are still very much bears. But what you might not know is because pandas spend 10 to 16 hours of their lives eating bamboo every single day, they have some of the strongest jaws of any mammal. For reference, it's the same reason gorillas technically have a stronger bite than grizzlies. And it's why a motivated panda can make your arms see-through. And because bears usually go for the lower body, panda fades have resulted in torn ligaments, broken ankles, broken legs, and even ruptured tendons. Moral of this video: never trust an animal with the color scheme of a barcode, they're usually on treatment time. Friendly reminder that no matter how bad life gets, you will never be this snail. This is Jeremy. Jeremy was a garden snail with a mutation that made his shell coil to the left instead of the right. And because his organs were also in the wrong direction, he couldn't mate with other snails. And scientists spent years, like actual years, trying to find another lefty snail so Jeremy wouldn't have to die alone. There was even a viral hashtag lefty snail to help find Jeremy another. Eventually they found 2 possible options, one from England, one from Spain, all with the same 1 in a million lefty mutation. But then the 2 snails ignored Jeremy and started mating with each other instead. In people's terms, it's like if the Bachelor ended in an orgy that he wasn't invited to. The 2 snails made about 300 babies together, and Jeremy was responsible for exactly none of them. Eventually, Jeremy was able to find another partner, and this time he did make it to the end zone. Then he died, and none of his 56 alleged children had his mutation. I say alleged because it turns out his partner actually made it with snails before him, so we have no way of knowing how many of the children were actually his. Rest in peace, Jeremy, because God knows he ain't get to it.
Exactly. Alright guys, that's the end of today's video. Casual Geographic, one of the smartest, he's just someone I know that has really good animal knowledge. I love his videos. Alright guys, make sure you guys punch that like button and subscribe. Peace.